So at this point, we have a model, we have a controller, and we have a view for our posts. But it still does not do very much. What we want to do now is add some additional routes, more controller actions, and more views so that we can have a fully functional application. Let's begin by opening up the routes.rb file. First off, I'm going to remove all these comments that Rails generated by default. They're a bit unnecessary. What we want to do is change this line from get post / index, and we want to create additional routes. So before I do that, let's go to our terminal and do a command called rake routes. So this is how you will see all of your routes that we have in our application. So currently all we have is the get post / index route. And if we change that to resources posts, like so, save that and do the rake routes command again, you can see it created all of the routes we need for our CRUD actions. So the index, the create, new, edit, show, update, and destroy. So we'll be able to create new posts with the create and the new actions, or the new routes. We'll be able to show them on the post show. We'll be able to edit, destroy them, and we can loop through them on the index page. So when I first started Rails, this is something that confused me. So I want to run through it real quick. Under the prefix column, these are the unique routes that you'll be using in your view. These are the named routes, usually combined with the suffix underscore path or underscore URL to form helper methods that we can use inside of our view. For example, inside of our view, we'd do something like this. We'd say, use a link to method and say, if we want a button that goes to the post show, for example, say view post. And then we would, the post show right here, we would do the post underscore path. And this would dynamically find the correct post we want to go to and then add the correct link to it. Pretty cool. So the verb, these have to do with the REST or Representational State Transfer Protocol. REST is a communications protocol. It uses HTTP requests to post data, read data, and delete data. So there are four HTTP verbs which correspond to various CRUD actions. For example, post corresponds to the create action. Get corresponds to a read action. Patch corresponds to an update action. And delete corresponds to the destroy. The URI pattern right here, this is the URI pattern that Rails uses to match a route. It specifies the URL associated with each action inside of your controller. And then the controller actions, well, this is kind of self-explanatory. This means the which controller it is, in our case, the post controller. And remember, we had the index action. So this is the route for the post index action. Cool stuff, right? Let's add the ability to create posts. What we want to do is go back to our post controller. We want to create a new action called def new end. So let's save that. And now that you've done that, go back and let's go to post and then change it from index to new. So we get an error. So this is a template is missing error. So we get an error. Don't freak out. Errors in Rails are usually pretty helpful, and you can use them to guide your development along and tell you what you need to do next. So in our case, we're getting a template is missing error. So it's basically telling you that Rails is looking for a post / new template for our view, but is unable to find it. So let's go ahead and create that. Let's close out of these, clean this up a bit. For now, I'll close out the routes and the index file. So under our app views posts. Let's right click, create new file. And I'm going to save this as new.html.erb. So now, just with that file saved, if we go back and refresh, that error goes away. So for this page, we want the ability to add a new post. So what we need to do is create a form. So up top, I'm going to add an h1 tag and say new post, just to describe what this page is about. If we go back and refresh, you can see that showing up here. Beautiful. So drop down a few lines. So what we want to do is add a form for helper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste in a block of code that we're going to use for our form, and then I'm going to go through and describe what everything is doing. All right, so let's break this down. First off, the stuff inside of the less than and percent sign, that means the stuff inside of here is Ruby. Remember when we named our file, it was .html.erb. The .erb stands for embedded Ruby. So when we use this is, Rails knows that this is Ruby, and when we use less than percent and an equal sign, that means it's Ruby, but we also want to print it onto the screen. So we want Rails to evaluate the Ruby and output the result into the view. All right, so what about this form for? Well, this is a Rails helper for showing forms in the view. It saves the data to the corresponding table. In our case, we're going to do app post, which is going to reference the post model. We will still need to tweak our controller in order to get this to work, but this is what will allow us to save our data to the model. So these title and body, remember when we created the migration file, we added two attributes, a title and a body. Well, this is what's going to accept the input and save it into these two columns into our database. All right, and finally, this F. So what is that doing? You can see we have an F here and an F here and all of these. So this could technically be anything, but it's common practice to use F, which stands for form. So the f.text field title is creating a text input for the form, where the data of that input will be saved to the title column of the post title in the database. And then these BR tags are just HTML line breaks that we can use to make our form a little bit more viewable. The f.submit is what will take all of this data and then submit it into our database. So if we save this, go back and refresh, we get another error. It says first argument in form cannot contain nil or be empty. So remember when I said we need to tweak our controller? Let's go back and do that. Open up the post controller. Inside the def new, what we need to do is create this at post variable. So right here we have an instance variable. We need to actually define what that is. So we need to do at post. So we're creating the at post variable and assigning it to post.new. So what this is doing is it's allowing the form for to have the post.new, and that is what will allow us to create or take our data and save it into our database. So if we go back and refresh, I seem to be missing the error, so let's go back and look. Oh, so on the form for, I believe I missed the equal sign. So save that, go back, refresh. There we go. So now our inputs are showing up correctly. So now our model and our views are connected by the controller and everyone is happy. So if we try to submit data right now, we're going to get another error. Let's go ahead and write hello world. Actually, I'm going to say first post and I'll say hello world in the body. And I click create post. So it says unknown action. The action create could not be found for post controller. So let's fix this error by creating this controller action. So if we go back to our post controller, under the def new, let's create another one called def create. Inside of here, we need to do a few things. So just like before, we need to create an instance variable and call it post.new. This one's going to be different though. We're going to do opening and closing parentheses. And then inside of here, I'm going to write post_params. So this is a little security measure that Rails implements for us. What we need to do is go down here and write private, and then under that, let's do another method called post params. So what we're doing is defining what this post params is. So I'm going to write a line called params.require, and then parentheses, we're going to require the post table, and then we're going to permit two attributes. We're going to permit the title and the body. All right, so this is known as Rails for strong parameters. So it's a security measure. You have to whitelist, or you have to permit what attributes you want to be able to be saved, created, and updated on your model. So if this was not here, for example, and we tried to submit our form, only the title attribute would get saved. So what this is doing is it's creating a new post, and we're permitting the various attributes on the post table. Then we want to throw in a conditional statement. So we're going to say if at post.save, we are going to redirect _to at post. Else, we're going to render the new action, end. So what this is doing is it's saying if everything was successful and the post was able to save, we want to redirect this, the user, to the at post show page. So remember our routes, we would go to the controller action post show. So that is all we need to do for now. So let's save that, go back and go back to post/new. Let's refresh. I'm going to say new post, and I'm going to say hello world again. Create post. All right, so we get yet another error, but this is a good thing. If you look at the URL, we go to /post/1, and we get a unknown action. So we still get an error, but it's a different one. So we are indeed making progress. So it says the action show could not be found for post controller. All right, so let's take care of that. Under the create method, let's do def show end. So let's save that, refresh. All right, so we get another error, but a different one. Template is missing. All right, so let's create that template. Under the app views post, let's create a new file and save this as show.html.erb. And if we go back and refresh, you can see we don't get any errors, but nothing is showing up. So a few things we need to do here. Let's go back to our post controller. What we want to do is find the particular post. So we're going to do at post equals post with capital P dot find, and then in parentheses, we're going to write params of :id. So what this line is saying is for the show action, we want to assign we want to find the correct post by the post ID. An ID for each post is created by default, and each one is unique, which is how Rails is able to find it. So basically, this is how we are pulling data from our model. We're saving it to an instance variable. So if we save that and go back to our show, let's render that data. So I'm going to write an h1 tag and say opening Ruby tag and say at post dot title, and then let's write a div, and I'll say at post dot body, and I'll close that div. So save that, and if we go back and refresh, you can see new post, which was the title I wrote, and the hello world. So again, this is pulling data from our model and rendering it in our view. Pretty cool stuff, right? So what I want to do is let's go to post/new again and create another post. I'm going to quickly go to hipsum.co, and this is just a site for filler text. I'm going to copy a block of that. All right, so let's create a few more posts. I'm going to say another post and paste in that copy. So we get directed to post/2. Another post, and our body copy is showing up. Let's go to post new again, and I'll say one more and paste in the body copy as well. So now that we have the ability to create posts, what I want to do is add the functionality to read the posts or loop through them on our homepage. So how can we do this? Well, what we need to do is jump back into our post controller. Let's go to post controller. So remember we have this def index right here. If we go to our view and go to /post, we have the post index. So how can we get the data from the model, aka all of our posts, and show them on this page? To do that, let's create an @post variable, use the plural posts, and assign that to post.all, then do .order and opening parentheses, quotes, created _@ DESC. So what this is doing is it's grabbing all of our posts from our model. We are ordering them by the created @ field, which is created by default on every table. And then we are doing them in descending order, which means the newest post will get shown at the top instead of at the bottom. And we are assigning all of this to the @post variable. All right, so now that we have our controller action written, let's go under the post index, and I'm going to delete this content. And instead, I'm going to create what is known as a loop. So I'm going to do less than %, no equals this time. I'm going to do @posts. So I'm referencing the @post variable from the controller. We're going to use the .each method and I'm going to say post. And then below here, let's create an end before we forget. So everything inside of this .each block. So what this is saying, for each post right here, inside of the post variable, which is grabbing all of our posts, for each one, let's write an h2 tag and say post.title. So one thing you'll notice is here we're using the equals because we want to display this inside of our view. This content we just want to get run. We don't actually want to display it. So be sure to use the equals. But here we used @post. Here we are not. The reason for this is because we are inside of a loop. So what you're doing is it's referencing each individual post. The .each method loops through each of the posts in this variable one by one. And then for each post, we are displaying the title. Let's do div, and let's do what is known as a truncate method, post.body, comma, and then we're going to use a symbol and say length, and assign that to 35. So this is definitely new. What this is doing is we are grabbing the post.body, just like the post.title. But what this is doing is it's going to give us an excerpt. Instead of the full length, we're just going to show a little snippet of it, an excerpt that has a length of 35 words. So let's drop down. Let's add a BR tag. And then let's also do a link to helper. Link to, and I'm going to say read post. And if we refer back to our rake routes, remember the posts show right here, we are going to use the post prefix. So let's do link to, we're going to link to the post and close that. So let's save it, go back and refresh. You can see all of our posts are now showing up in descending order. If we click on the new button, it takes us to the correct post. So Rails is smart enough to grab the correct ID for the individual post and know where to send us. It's pretty fantastic. So one thing to note, if we go back to just the home page, just localhost, we still have this default welcome aboard, you're writing Ruby on Rails message. What I want to do is show, I don't want our users to have to manually type /post. I want to show this content on the home page. Luckily, Rails makes a super easy way to do that. So let's go under config, open up the routes.rb. All we need to do is add one line. Let's say root posts index. So what this is doing is taking the post controller index action and assigning it to the root of our application. So if we refresh now, we see our posts are looping through. Pretty beautiful, right? So next, I want to add the ability to update a post. Say we have a typo or something, or just something's wrong with the post we need to update. We need the functionality to be able to update that. So let's go back to our application. Let's close out of the roots. Let's close out of the show and the index. Back in our controller, what we need to do is just like the new and the create actions, we need to create a few for our update actions. So we need two def edit end and a def update end. So just like the show action, we need to find the correct post. And then the same thing for the update, we need to find the correct post we want to update. This one's going to be a bit different, just like the create. We're going to do if at post.update. So if we're able to update it, we're going to use the post params here again. We're going to redirect to the post again. Else, we're going to render the edit action instead. One thing to note is you see all this duplication. This goes against the Rails dry principle. Don't repeat yourself. So what I want to do is clean this up a bit, and we can use what is known as a before action to do that. So I'm going to copy this and remove it. Down here, let's create a new method called def find post, and let's paste that down here. Let's remove it from the edit and the show. What I want to do is up top, let's write before action. We're going to do find, we're going to do find post, and we only want to do this on the show action, the edit, and the update. So what this means is before actions get routed and run, this will correct or find the post for these particular actions. So if we save that and go back, so we can edit this post by going to post/3/edit. If we hit that, now that we have the controller action set up, all we need to do is create a template to fix this error. So let's go back. Under post, we are going to create a new file and save this as edit.html.erb. So now if we go back and refresh, nothing shows up, but that error goes away. So much like the new file, we're going to be using the same form. But again, if we just copied and pasted this here, this would work. But the thing is, this is a lot of duplication again. So if we need to update our form, we would have to update it in two places, which is not the best way to do things. So what I'm going to do is undo that. I'm going to create what is called a partial file. So create a new file. I'm going to do _form.html.erb. We are starting it with underscore to tell Rails that it is a partial file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this form, delete it from the new, and paste it inside of this form partial. So save that. Then what we can do is inside of our new as well as our edit pages, we are going to do render form. So save that, and let's copy all of this, paste it here, and I'm going to say instead of new, I'm going to say edit post. So if I go back, refresh, the title is showing up. You can see the inputs are showing up preloaded with the correct data. So let me say one more again, and let's submit it and see if it works. So I'll say update post, and indeed it does. We get redirected back to the post with the updated text. Beautiful. So obviously we don't want to have to manually type the /edit. So let's create a link that goes to that page. All right, so if we go back to our show page, we want the link to live on the show page. So now that I have that open, let's drop down a few lines and add a link to helper. and I'm going to say edit post. Then do comma, and if we go to our rake routes, you can see the edit action. We need the edit post path. So I'm going to copy this, go back here and do edit post. Then we're going to append path. One thing to note, we need to find the correct post. So I'm going to do @post in parentheses and then close that. So what this is going to do is it's going to create a link called edit post, and it's going to go find the correct post and link it to the edit page. So if I refresh, let me click on that. Beautiful, it's working perfect. Let's add a BR tag before that to clean it up a little bit. Perfect. So click the link, make sure it works as it should, and then let's move on to destroying posts. Let's go to the post controller, and then under the def edit or def update, what we want to do is write our destroy method. So let's do def destroy end. Just like the show, edit, and update methods, we'll need to find the correct post. So I'm going to add the destroy action here. Then below here, since we're already finding the post, all we need to do is grab that post and do .destroy. After we destroy that post, we'll want to go redirect to a new page. So let's redirect to the root path, which will just take us home. So if I refresh, obviously nothing happens just yet. We need to create a link to click delete inside of our view. So back in the show.html.erb file, let's create another link to. I'm going to say delete. Then we are going to go to the post underscore path. We're going to find the correct post again. This one's a bit different though. We're going to do method colon and then colon delete. And then we are going to say data colon opening curly brackets confirm are you sure question mark. So what this is doing is it's telling Rails that this link right here, we actually want to delete the post, and then the data confirm are you sure, this will cause a whoops, didn't close that out. Go back and refresh. That will cause a dialog pop-up box to come up inside the browser. So if I hit delete, you can see a pop-up box comes up and makes us confirm it before it actually deletes the content. It just makes sure you don't accidentally hit this instead of the edit page or edit link and lose your content. So let's hit delete. Let's test it out and say OK. All right, so we get redirected to the home page, and you can see the post does not show up here now. So one last thing I want to do is let's go back to Sublime. Let's close out of these files. If we go to app views layouts application.html.erb, I want to explain what's happening in this file. So anything on this page will get rendered on every single page in your application. And then this yield line right here is where we basically the yield command imports the content from these various pages into this application layout. So for example, if I comment this out and go back and refresh, nothing shows up. Uncomment it. So this is where you would add things like your header, your footer, and then also since we have the head, anything that needs to be included in that is where this would live. So what I want to do is add a few links here. So let's add a link to new post, and we will go to the new post path. Whoops, I forgot the link to method. So if we save that, refresh, beautiful. And let's add another one and say link to home. And we'll go to the root path. So that way, if we're on a show page, we can just click home and go back. So you can see this is the same on each post. Beautiful. So let's review what we've done. We've added well, first off, we've created our model, our views, and our controller. We've linked all three of those up. We've added the ability to create new posts. We've looped through or read all the posts on our index or our homepage. We've added dynamic links. We've added the ability to edit posts and destroy posts. So give yourself a hand because you have built a fully functional Rails application. Now that you've gone through the basics of Rails and you've built your first Rails application, I would suggest going through some of my other content, such as my 12 and 12 challenge, where you can follow along and build 12 different web applications using Rails. All right, so I really hope you enjoyed this course.